The disappearance of Cindy Song. Date: October 31st, 2001. Location: State College, Pennsylvania, USA. Status: missing, presumed abducted. Age at disappearance: 21. Last seen wearing: bunny costume, black skirt, pink top, bunny ears, and a white tail. Woman who was Cindy Song. Cindy Song, birth name Hyun Jong Song, was a 21-year-old South Korean immigrant and a senior at Pennsylvania State University. She was studying integrative arts, had good grades, and was described as artistic, vibrant, and well-liked by her friends. Cindy had moved from South Korea to the U.S. in 1995 to pursue education and opportunity. She had a supportive family, including her parents who still lived in South Korea, and she stayed closely connected to them. Jack-o'-lantern Halloween night, October 31st, 2001. Cindy attended a Halloween party with friends at Players Nightclub, a local bar in downtown State College. She was dressed in a Playboy bunny-style costume, pink sleeveless top, bunny ears, black miniskirt, knee-high boots, white cotton tail attached to her skirt. They stayed out late and partied until about 2 a.m. on November 1st. She and two friends went to one of their apartments to watch movies and snack. Around 4 a.m., one of her friends dropped Cindy off at her apartment on West Clinton Avenue in State College. Crossmark after 4 a.m., Cindy vanishes. That was the last confirmed sighting of Cindy. She never made it to her apartment. Or if she did, she vanished shortly after arriving. Her backpack, cell phone, and false eyelashes were inside her apartment. Her door was locked, suggesting she had made it inside. Her wallet and keys were missing. There were no signs of a struggle. There were no reports of screams, forced entry, or any suspicious behavior that night. It was like she had vanished into thin air from her own apartment. Oncoming police car, the investigation. Cindy was reported missing on November 1st, 2001, after friends couldn't contact her. Police found no clear signs of foul play, at first. Rumors suggested she may have walked to a 24-hour store or was abducted on her way back. A tip came from a witness who claimed to have seen a woman matching her description crying in the back of a dark sedan being driven by a man in his 20s-30s, but the lead went cold. Puzzle piece to serial killer connection, 2003 to 2005. In 2003, federal investigators briefly linked her disappearance to Hugo Selensky, a suspected serial killer in nearby Luzerne County, PA. Selensky was later convicted in other murders. An associate of Selensky claimed he and another man had kidnapped a woman fitting Cindy's description and killed her. No physical evidence was ever found tying Selensky to Cindy's case, and he later denied involvement. Detective status today, still missing. As of 2025, Cindy Song remains missing. No body has been found. No suspect has ever been charged. Her case remains open with the FBI and local authorities. A reward has been offered periodically for information leading to her whereabouts, but the trail has remained cold for years. Brain theories. Abduction after arriving home. She enters her apartment, removes costume accessories, then leaves to get food or air and is abducted, lured out by someone she knew. Maybe someone called her or visited and convinced her to leave. Random act of violence. Someone saw her walking alone in costume, easy target late at night. Serial killer theory. If she was indeed linked to Selensky or another serial predator, her body may have been disposed of carefully. Round pushpin timeline summary time event 2:00 a.m. Cindy leaves Halloween party. For 00 a.m. dropped off at apartment morning. And OV1 friends can't reach her, and OV1 officially reported missing days later. Investigation begins 2003. 2005 leads tie case to killer Hugo Selensky. 2025 case still open. Cindy never found framed picture. Last known images. Cindy's last known images are from that Halloween party, smiling in her pink bunny costume. These pictures have been widely circulated in hopes of someone recognizing her or having seen her that night. Deborah Jackson, aka Orange Socks. Murder on Halloween, 1979 discovery of the body. On October 31st, 1979 Halloween, the body of a young woman was found in a concrete drainage culvert along Interstate 35 near Georgetown, Texas. She was completely nude, except for a pair of bright orange socks, which led to her nickname, Orange Socks. The autopsy revealed she had been sexually assaulted and strangled to death. She had no ID, and no one came forward to claim her. She was classified as an unidentified murder victim. Her body bore signs of childhood skin infections, scarring from impetigo, and she wore a silver ring with an abalone or mother-of-pearl stone. Because no missing person report matched her, she was buried in a cemetery in Georgetown under a generic grave marker, and the case went cold. Who was she? For 40 years, Orange Socks remained one of the most haunting unidentified murder victims in Texas. In 2019, with the help of genetic genealogy and the DNA Doe Project, she was finally identified as Deborah Louise Jackson, born September 20th, 1956, from Abilene, Texas. She had left home in 1977 and never returned. Her family believed she had chosen to live on her own, so they never filed a missing person report. She had worked sporadically across Texas, including in Amarillo and Azle, but lived a transient life. Because she wasn't reported missing, her name was never entered into missing persons databases, making identification nearly impossible until advanced DNA testing became available. Possible suspect: Henry Lee Lucas. In the 1980s, infamous serial killer Henry Lee Lucas confessed to killing Orange Socks. He claimed he picked up a hitchhiking woman and killed her in Texas on Halloween 1979. Based on that confession, Lucas was convicted of her murder in 1984, even though there were serious issues with the case. Later investigations revealed Lucas may not have been in Texas at the time of the murder, and that his confession may have been coerced or fabricated. Lucas had a habit of confessing to crimes he didn't commit, sometimes hundreds, and many of those confessions have since been debunked. There is no conclusive evidence linking Lucas to Deborah Jackson's murder. Why was the case unsolved for so long? Several factors contributed to this case remaining unsolved for 4 decades. No missing person report was ever filed for Deborah. In 1979, there was no DNA technology, no forensic genealogy, and no centralized databases. Her transient lifestyle made her harder to trace. She had moved between cities and lived without a stable home. The crime scene, a roadside culvert, offered few clues, and forensic evidence was minimal. Breakthrough: identification via DNA. In 2019, thanks to the efforts of the DNA Doe Project and the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, Deborah's identity was finally confirmed. Researchers used genetic genealogy, comparing her DNA to relatives who had submitted their DNA to public databases. Once the match was made, law enforcement contacted her family, who confirmed details like scars, jewelry, and timeline. Her grave was updated, and she was no longer known only as Orange Socks. The sheriff at the time said, "At least now we know her name. Now she can rest." Unsolved to this day. Despite identifying her, Deborah Jackson's murder has never been officially caught or identified. Forensic evidence collected from the body, like male DNA under her fingernails, was either too degraded or too limited to produce a full suspect profile. The case remains open and under investigation, with hopes that advances in DNA technology may eventually lead to justice. Legacy and reflection. Deborah's story highlights how vulnerable people living on the margins of society can become, and how cases can go cold not because of lack of care, but due to lack of resources, awareness, and forensic capability. She remained a nameless murder victim for 40 years, and only through science and persistence was her identity restored. But the key question still remains: who killed Deborah Louise Jackson? The disappearance of Patricia Spencer and Pamela Hobley. Date: October 31st, 1969. Location: Oscoda, Michigan, USA. Status: missing, presumed murdered. Ages: Patricia and Spencer, 16 years old. Pamela Sue Hobley, 15 years old. Girl, who were they? Pamela Hobley and Patricia Spencer were 2 teenage girls from a small community of Oscoda, a quiet town along the northern shores of Lake Huron in Michigan. They weren't especially close friends. In fact, they moved in different social circles at Oscoda High School. But on Halloween of 1969, their paths crossed in a way that would forever link them in one of Michigan's oldest cold cases. Jack-o'-lantern Halloween, October 31st, 1969. That day, both girls skipped school, possibly planning to attend the Oscoda High School football game together that evening, which was a major local event. They were last seen walking together on River Road, heading away from town, possibly toward a game or looking for a ride, around late afternoon or early evening, sometime between 2:30 p.m. and 4 p.m. Neither of them was ever seen again. Crossmark immediate aftermath. Initially, authorities thought they had run away, especially since the girls had recently had a disagreement with their parents, and there were rumors of them wanting to go to Flint or Detroit. But they left behind purses, makeup, clothes, and personal belongings. They had no money, car, or confirmed transportation. They were not known to be especially rebellious. Their families were adamant they would never run away and leave for good, especially without saying goodbye or ever contacting anyone again. Detective investigation. Despite early leads and witness statements, the investigation went cold for decades. Small Blue Diamond rumors circulated that the girls had been picked up while hitchhiking, that they may have been taken to a nearby party, and something went wrong, that someone they knew was involved and helped cover it up. Small Blue Diamond in the 1980s, law enforcement received a tip claiming the girls had been murdered and buried near a barn. A search was conducted, but no evidence was found. Small Blue Diamond in 2010, new witnesses came forward saying the girls had been seen getting into a car on Halloween night with two older boys, both of whom have since died. Puzzle piece theory is one. Hitchhiking gone wrong. The most common theory is that the girls were trying to hitchhike to the football game or a party. They may have gotten into the wrong car and were abducted. 2. Accidental death at a party. Some believe they attended a party where drugs or alcohol were involved. An accidental death may have been covered up. 3. Murdered and hidden. Some investigators believe the girls were murdered the same night and buried in a remote area. One theory suggests they were buried near a dam or in a rural hunting area. Round pushpin timeline summary date event October 31, 1969. Patricia and Pamela last seen walking on River Road in OV1. Two families report them missing 1970s. ADS case believed to be a runaway situation 1985 tip claims girls were buried near a barn. Search yields nothing 2010s witnesses say girls were picked up by older boys 2020s case still open. Considered a likely double homicide, police officer current status. The Michigan State Police reclassified the case from runaways to suspected homicide. Both girls remain missing and their remains have never been found. DNA from both families is on file, in case remains are ever recovered and matched. Camera photos of the girls. Patricia Spencer. Pamela Hobley. These are the last known photos of them, now digitized and used on missing person posters across the country. Brain Wyatt haunts. They vanished on Halloween, a day already steeped in masks, anonymity, and mischief. They were young girls from a tight-knit town, gone without a trace. There have been credible tips, but no physical evidence. It's a reminder of how quickly a life or two can vanish, and how long the pain can last. Megaphone how you can help. Anyone with information, no matter how small, is encouraged to contact the Michigan State Police or submit a tip anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Even the smallest memory, a ride, a rumor, a car sighting, could lead to answers. Background. Chris Jenkins was a 21-year-old business student at the University of Minnesota, Carlson School of Management. The published Penn +3, the Minnesota Daily +3, the Minnesota Daily +3. He was active in athletics, captained the lacrosse team, and known as a smart, sociable young man. Rochester Post Bulletin +1. Disappearance. Halloween night, 2002. On October 31st, 2002, Chris went out with friends in downtown Minneapolis for Halloween. Trailwentcold.com +1. He wore a costume, reportedly an American Indian-themed costume, and visited the Bar Lone Tree Bar and Grill in the warehouse/district downtown. Murders.ru +1. Around midnight, he was seen dancing, and then later seen being escorted out of the bar by security or staff. He had no jacket despite cold weather, no wallet, no cell phone, and left with his keys. The published Penn +1. Body discovered. On February 27th, 2003, his body was found in the Mississippi River near the 3rd Avenue Bridge in Minneapolis, about 4 months after his disappearance. The Minnesota Daily Plus One. At the time of recovery, his body was floating on his back, his arms folded across his chest, costume apparently still on. These details raise questions because they seemed inconsistent with a simple accidental fall or drowning. True Crime Society Plus One. Investigation and reclassification. Initially, the case was treated by the police as a possible drowning accident or suicide. Autopsy results were undetermined about cause of death. The Minnesota Daily Plus One. After persistent effort by his family, in November 2006, the Minneapolis Police Department reclassified his death as a homicide, with the chief admitting a mistake had been made. The Minnesota Daily. Police said there is a witness and a suspect now, though motive and full details were not disclosed publicly. CBS News Plus One. Key unresolved questions and concerns. Why was Chris left outside in cold weather in costume with no jacket, keys, phone, or wallet? Why was his body found months later in the river with his arms crossed, still in costume, and without obvious signs of typical drowning? What happened between being removed from a bar and entering the water, or being placed in the water? Given the reclassification to homicide, why have no charges been publicly announced as of the latest public updates? The published pen. Legacy and family effort. His family did not accept the initial findings and pushed for reinvestigation. They also authored a book detailing their struggle, Footprints of Courage, Our Family's Struggle for Justice, inside the Chris Jenkins murder investigation by his mother Jan Jenkins. The Minnesota Daily. The case has also been discussed in context of broader theories about young men disappearing after nights out and bodies found in waterways, though police have said Chris's case is not tied to a larger serial pattern. The Minnesota Daily Plus One. Current status. The case remains unsolved, despite being classified as a homicide. Investigative authorities report there is a suspect and witness, but no public arrest or conviction, at least in publicly accessible sources. The published pen Plus One. Many remain hopeful that further evidence or new forensic techniques may bring answers. Background. The events unfolded in the spring of 1946 in and around the twin cities of Texarkana, Texas, and Texarkana, Arkansas, spanning Bowie County, TX, and Miller County, AR. Wikipedia +2 CrimeLibrary.org+2. The case became known locally as the Moonlight Murders, attributed to an unknown assailant who came to be called the Phantom Killer or Phantom of Texarkana. Crime Library or +1. The modus operandi. Attacks were late at night, often on weekend evenings, targeting young couples parked in secluded spots, lovers' lanes. Historic mysteries +1. Timeline of the attacks. 1. February 22, 1946. A couple, Jimmy Hollis, 25, and Mary Jean Larry, 19, parked after a movie near Texarkana. Historic mysteries +1. A masked man approached, pointed a flashlight, and ordered Hollis out. He was forced to remove his trousers, then struck in the head with a firearm, later determined to have fractured his skull. Larry was also attacked and fled to a nearby house to alert police. Historic mysteries +1. Both survived this attack. Hollis severely injured. 2. March 24, 1946. Couple Richard L. Griffin, 29, and Polly and Moore, 17, found dead in Griffin's car at a lover's lane in Bowie County. Griffin had been shot twice. Moore was found in the back seat, apparently killed outside the car, then placed in the vehicle. Historic mysteries +1. Ballistics indicated .32 caliber Colt automatic pistol, at least for this crime. Historic mysteries +1. 3. April 14, 1946. Couple Paul Martin, 17, and Betty Jo Booker, 15, left a dance/event and were picked up by police after being reported missing. Martin's body was found with 4 gunshot wounds. Booker's body was found 2 miles away with 2 gunshot wounds. Their vehicle was found abandoned 3 miles from the scene. Historic mysteries +1. 4. May 3, 1946. Attack at an isolated farmhouse belonging to Virgil Starks, 37, and his wife Katie Starks, 36. Virgil was shot twice in the back of the head through a closed window. Katie was shot twice in the face but survived. A flashlight was found at the scene. Historic mysteries. The investigation. Over 400 suspects were questioned, including local residents, transients, and criminal elements. None were ever definitively charged in the murders. Magazine.tipcomputing.com+1. Multiple law enforcement agencies were involved. Texarkana City Police, both states, county sheriffs, the Texas Rangers, notably Manuel Gonzalez, and the FBI. Wikipedia +1. The killer's pattern, time of attack, victims, location, suggested a serial offender. Investigators noted changes in his methods, e.g., moving from lovers' lanes to a farmhouse. Some debate whether the last attack was by the same person. Historic mysteries +1. The town was gripped in fear. Residents installed extra locks, bought guns, established curfews. Even youth vigilante groups roamed lovers' lanes. CrimeLibrary.org +1. Suspects. The primary suspect often named is Yowell Swinney, 1917 to 1994. He had a history of car theft, counterfeiting, and his wife Peggy made statements implicating him in some of the murders. However, due to lack of direct evidence and his wife's refusal to testify, he was never officially charged for murders. Wikipedia +1. Other suspects included H. B. Tennyson, who later committed suicide, and various transient individuals, but all leads failed to yield a definitive culprit. Historic mysteries. Legacy and cultural impact. The killer abruptly stopped, at least publicly, after May 1946. The identity remains unknown, making this one of America's enduring unsolved crime mysteries. BrigittaMoonBooks.com. The case inspired the 1976 horror/thriller film The Town That Dreaded Sundown and the 2014 follow-up, which dramatizes the region's fear of the Phantom Killer. Wikipedia.org +1. In Texarkana, the memory of the incident still looms. Public screenings of the film, local lore, and the event has shaped the region's haunted memory. BrigittaMoonBooks.com. Why it matters. Lovers' lanes were considered safe refuges. This spree turned them into places of terror, showing how one individual can radically deviate societal norms of safety. The case highlights forensic limitations of the era, ballistics, fingerprinting, surveillance, and how cross-jurisdiction cases, Texas and Arkansas, pose extra difficulties. It remains a cautionary tale about unresolved justice. Victims' families never saw closure, and the perpetrator was never held accountable.